All right, Rockhurst hockey fans, hopefully we're back. Somebody could shoot me a message. Let me know if you're seeing this. It says we're live. I have no idea. But we're watching the Zamboni work, and we're watching ice freeze, which is quite a bit more exciting than watching paint dry, but here we are. So, team should be coming out here shortly under this fresh, shiny new ice for the third period of play. Rockhurst Hawklets versus the Zamboni has just finished its work. We're waiting for the ice to set up here. Both teams come to their benches. We should have a pretty exciting third period of play here. This has been a pretty evenly matched game so far. Here come the officials, carving their first tracks into the fresh ice. Setting up the nets. So I never did get a actual tally of the shots on goals, but it looked to me like Rockhurst kind of had the edge. Except St. Joe has made their shots on goal count. They've got a couple guys that can really fly and have some pretty wicked wrist shots. So we'll see how Rockhurst comes back out, face that attack. We have a 15-minute period left. Rockhurst coming onto the ice. In their nice bright blue uniforms with a little collar around the top. They got a cute little white collar there. Teddy Houlihan in goal for Rockhurst. We will see who Rockhurst brings out here for the first line. They're coordinating now. Tell you, for those of you who have played hockey, there's nothing better than getting out onto a fresh sheet of ice, all nice and smooth, ready for action. It's got that certain smell of clean ice. I think these guys are ready to play some hockey here. Rockhurst chance and breaks. Looks like Rockhurst changed things up just a little bit here. Face-off. Rockhurst with a one-man advantage. Quite quickly, Rockhurst gets the puck down the ice, gets a shot. Saved by St. Joe. Face-off will be to the right of St. Joe goaltender. Looks like Rockhurst has put Coleman on defense with Corntager for this power play opportunity. Shot by Rockhurst, deflected by traffic up into the glass behind the net. Rockhurst comes around, another shot. Coleman back at point, tries to put it in, deflected by St. Joe. Alibrando with a long shot on net. Puck comes all the way out and around, blocked by Rockhurst at the goal line. Rockhurst coming in with a shot. Hits traffic and deflects into the corner. And that will be a penalty on Rockhurst, as Rockhurst got a little aggressive there. I believe that was Cowan driving into the corner. So that's going to create a 4-on-4 situation. We have a minute 14 left. Yeah, Cowan goes to the box. They're bringing the face-off all the way back down into the Rockhurst zone. So we'll have 4-on-4 here. Face-off, won by Rockhurst, but quickly intercepted by St. Joe. Rockhurst behind the net. Rockhurst looking to break it out to get it out of the zone. St. Joe sends it all the way down the ice. That will be an icing as we're playing 4-on-4 hockey right now. And we have a minute 39 left in the Rockhurst penalty, but only 52 seconds left in the St. Joe penalty. So we're going to have 4-on-4 hockey here still for a little while. .13:51 left. Corntager dumps it in, intercepted by St. Joe. St. Joe trying to break it over the red line. Crest breaks that one up. Corntager back. St. Joe with a good setup in front of the net, but unable to turn it into a shot. Rockhurst sticking with the defense. Rockhurst passes one all the way up to center ice. Here comes Corntager coming through center ice. Corntager behind the net looking for a pass, and it's a shot and a score. Great play by Jack Corntager. Comes around behind the net. Puts on a great centering pass, so it's 4-on-4 hockey, so nobody's coming out of the net. So that was out from Corntager out to Callahan. Great play. That's just what we want to see here. So that brings the score. St. Joe 4, Rockhurst 3. Still 4-on-4 hockey. Teven comes away with it. Teven with a long shot. Down in behind the net, comes all the way around the sideboards. Rockhurst, St. Joe with some flying through the zone. Broken up by Rockhurst. Shot on goal by St. Joe. St. Joe centering. St. Joe unable to get that one in as Teddy Houlihan steps up, puts the brakes on it. Here comes Teven. Teven with another long shot on goal. Deflected down in behind the goal. Held in by Rockhurst, by Robinson. Well, I guess it squeaked out over the line. So we are at 12 minutes, 31 seconds. 12 minutes, 31 seconds left in the third period. 4-on-4. Nope. The St. Joe now has 5 skaters. So they are out. And they will have a power play for 22 seconds. Rockhurst trying to keep that puck in. They're short-handed at this point. Coleman giving chase. Rockhurst coming around behind. They shoot it out. Rockhurst is short-handed, so they can fling it all the way down the ice. Coleman chasing. St. Joe sending it up through mid-ice. Broken up by Robinson. Rockhurst trying to do that long cross-ice pass. They don't connect, but they do get it out through mid-ice. St. Joe quickly turning it around. Rockhurst all over him. Everybody on Rockhurst coming back to help. Coleman intercepts the pass. Coleman trying to break it through. Kills a lot of time. Here comes Cowan. Out to Coleman. Coleman almost gets a short-handed shot in there. Rockhurst back at full strength. Coleman to Cowan. Cowan trying to get a shot. Gets it taken away. Robinson at the blue line. St. Joe breaks through. Rockhurst breaks it up. Rockhurst doing a really good job of just simply breaking up plays this evening. St. Joe fires one down into the corner. They fire one into the other corner. St. Joe trying to fire a shot at Teddy Houlihan. It was deflected off into the corner. And that one's deflected up into the netting. So we'll pause there. So we have 10:50 seconds left in the third period. Griffons score 4, Rockhurst 3, but Rockhurst having some good pressure and some good looks. Rockhurst draws it back into the corner. Rockhurst behind the net trying to shuffle it up the sideboards. Here comes Rockhurst up along the side. Corntager there, always on the puck. St. Joe turns it around. 3-on-2 opportunity broken up by Rockhurst. Rockhurst sends it around the corner. St. Joe gets a little shot off on net, deflected by Houlihan into the corner. St. Joe sends it all the way down. The St. Joe fans looking for some kind of penalty. I'm not sure what it was. I did not see what the penalty was, but the ref is indicating something that looks like some kind of mixer. I have no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, we have 10:05 left in the third period. Griffons 4, Rockhurst 3. Rockhurst will be shorthanded. Rockhurst sending out Teven, Kress, McTavish. Puck goes through the crease. Back to the point for St. Joe. St. Joe tries to dump it in. St. Joe puts it down low, centering pass, hits traffic. Put it around. St. Joe behind the net. St. Joe looking for that pass. Here comes Teven. Teven finds it, gets a handle on it, sends it all the way back down behind the St. Joe net. Rockhurst keeping it in at mid-ice. St. Joe sends it all the way around. Here comes St. Joe looking for that pass through center. Rockhurst fires another one all the way down through the end. St. Joe coming up through center ice. St. Joe with 1-on-2. Rockhurst rides him off into the corner. Rockhurst sticking with him, not letting him get a shot off. Here comes Rockhurst coming back the other way. Rockhurst fires it down. Less than 30 seconds left in that penalty. St. Joe still trying to mount an attack. Here they come through the neutral zone. Long shot from top of the circle, easily handled by Houlihan. Rockhurst picks up the rebound, sends it all the way down the ice again. Only a few seconds left in this penalty play. And that will do it for the penalty play. St. Joe coming back again, though. Still hungry. Long, high shot from the blue line, handled by Houlihan. Face off. Rockhurst coming down with some speed, 2-on-1. Shot goes wide, high and wide. Comes all the way back around. Hardy picks it up. Rockhurst behind the net, trying to get something going. St. Joe doesn't let him. Centering pass. Here comes St. Joe. They come away with it. Riccardi. Great stop by Riccardi. St. Joe has no choice but to send it down gently in behind the net for Rockhurst. Rockhurst coming out looking for a pass. They tip it. Alibrando can't quite handle it. Here comes Rockhurst coming back the other way. Coleman breaking it up. Coleman backhands one down in behind the net and chases. Oh, and Rockhurst just offsides. Boy, that was a close one. So, with 6 minutes, 41 seconds left in the game. St. Joe Griffons 4, Rockhurst 3. Puck drops. That one goes back to the St. Joe defense. Quickly picked up by the Rockhurst defense. Rockhurst trying to move it up along the sideboards. St. Joe sends it down into the Rockhurst end. Here comes Rockhurst through the neutral zone with some speed. Callahan. Shot. Goes high and wide. St. Joe back the other way. Sends it around behind the net. It's like Crest battling along the boards, but St. Joe sends it back down in behind. McTavish picks it up behind the Rockhurst net. Turns around, sends it back up the sideboards, intercepted by St. Joe, but intercepted right back by Rockhurst. Here comes Rockhurst coming over the line. Rockhurst with a shot. Hits traffic. Deflected. Backhand. And smothered. Smothered by the St. Joe goaltender. So 5 minutes, 21 seconds left in the third period. St. Joe Griffons clinging to a 4-3 lead over the Rockhurst offense. Rockhurst wins the faceoff. Quick backhand on net by Teven. And that was a nice quick shot right there. That didn't take too long. So they will face again as the goalie smothered it. Cowan facing off. Cowan wins the face-off. But St. Joe there to pick it up and steal it. Rockhurst. St. Joe attempting a centering pass, and I think it caught Houlihan off guard there. Houlihan was expecting a shot or something, and that one just backhander wasn't even where Houlihan was expecting it. It came right into him, went into the goal. So that puts the Griffons up by a score of 5-3. And there's the face-off. Rockhurst comes through with it quickly. Corntager not wasting any time. No, it's Alibrando. Puts one on net. So Alibrando trying to get one in there. Face-off. Rockhurst keeps it in. Rockhurst down low. Quick shot. Goes just wide of the net. 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the game. Rockhurst sends it around behind the boards. Slips past the Rockhurst defender. Rockhurst brings it all the way back into their own zone. Stolen by St. Joe. Here comes Rockhurst coming up the ice. Broken up by St. Joe at the blue line. St. Joe turns it back around. St. Joe with a long, hard shot. Pad save by Houlihan. And St. Joe is offside. So that is at 3:51. 3:51 left in the third period. 3:51 left in the game. St. Joe leading by a score of 5-3. Timeout has been called. I didn't see which team called the timeout. Nevertheless, we have a timeout with 3 minutes, 51 seconds left in the game. All right, so the officials call everyone back onto the ice with 3 minutes, 51 seconds left. Coleman sends one up to Teven. Teven coming over the blue line. Teven with a shot. Saved by the goaltender. Goes back in behind the net. And apparently we have some kind of a penalty. I don't know if it was a high stick or what. Face off to the left of the St. Joe goaltender. St. Joe wins it, tries to send it out. Rockhurst stops it at mid-ice. Rockhurst has pulled their goaltender. So, with 3 minutes, 19 seconds left, Rockhurst has pulled their goaltender. Rockhurst pulling all the stops out here fairly early in the third period. Rockhurst wins the face-off. Rockhurst comes around behind the net. Rockhurst with 6 attackers now. Rockhurst trying to send one into the goal, hits the side of the net. Corntager passes one across. Rockhurst keeps it in the zone. Alibrando puts one in. Rockhurst at the blue line, standing tall. Here comes St. Joe, tries to flip one all the way down, and that will be an icing. So St. Joe is taking some shots at the net because that's what you do. There's an empty net down there. So St. Joe is trying to hit that empty net. Meanwhile, Rockhurst has 6 skaters, 6 attackers, no goaltender. Only 5 skaters for St. Joe. St. Joe wins it. They try to fling it down again. It goes all the way down, and that will be another icing. So we're at 2:31 left here. 2:31 left in the third period. Corntager facing off. McTavish on defense, Alibrando on wing. They fire that one around. St. Joe fires another one all the way down the ice, and that'll be another icing. Two minutes, 20 seconds left in the third period. Puck drops. St. Joe wins it, fires another one down, and it's another icing. So St. Joe keeps taking these long shots at the net. They keep taking these long shots at the net, and it keeps ending up an icing. They might hit one of these days. But I think Rockhurst just needs to keep the pressure on. Rockhurst wins the face-off, brings it over to the side. Rockhurst trying to keep it in at the blue line. That one squeaks out. McTavish picks it up. Rockhurst turning it back around the other way, broken up by St. Joe. Here comes St. Joe. Nope, Rockhurst takes it away. Here comes Rockhurst. Long shot, long high shot. Blocker save, deflected up into the netting. So a minute, 50 seconds left in the game, with the Griffons leading by a score of 5-3. Rockhurst has pulled their goaltender. Rockhurst with 6 attackers. Looking to get that goal. Face off. Goes over to the sideboards. It's even there to get it. Comes down in. Held up by Callahan at the point. Shot. Coleman goes back in to dig it out. Coleman with a shot. Deflection. What did they call there? Oh, the net barely moved off the net. Now, this is confusing. For a second there, I thought Coleman had a goal, but the net moved off the pipe. Back to the blue line. Callahan keeps it in. St. Joe fires it all the way down the ice. Rockhurst looking to turn it up. Long shot by St. Joe on an empty net, and they missed the net. Just barely. Rockhurst trying to recoup here. Here comes Rockhurst. Coleman picks that one off. Sends it down to Teven. Teven pushes it down into the corner. Cowan chasing. St. Joe still trying to turn one towards the net, towards that empty net. Cowan picks it up. 36 seconds left. Out in front. Cowan couldn't quite get the handle on it. St. Joe sends it all the way down the ice. 23 seconds left. So that'll come all the way back down into the zone. Shot by Rockhurst. 16 seconds left. St. Joe sends it all the way down the ice. That'll be icing again. So Rockhurst with 11 seconds left will get one more crack at it here. Trailing by a score of 5-3. Puck is dropped. McTavish with a shot goes high and wide. Two seconds left. Shot on goal. Coleman taking the face off. Tied up by St. Joe. St. Joe fires a long one all the way down. But that was they put it in the net that time after about a dozen shots, but it's a moot point. The goal doesn't count, and Rockhurst unable to come back from the 5-3 deficit. So hard-fought game, good game. So that'll do it for the varsity game here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the JV game up and running here in just a little bit. As the varsity teams clear the ice, the JV teams will be out. We're going to get some fresh ice here. So that pretty much does it with a final score of St. Joe Griffons 5, Rockhurst Hawkins 3. And so that evens up this match at 1-1 on the season, with Rockhurst winning one game, St. Joe Griffons winning one game. Good hockey here, I got to tell you that. It's been some great hockey, evenly matched teams, and got to say it's been exciting. So I'm going to sign off from this varsity game and try to tune back in and broadcast this JV game coming up here in about 15 minutes. So long.